In this Flutter tutorial we are going to recreate the default counter app you get when you create a Flutter project to learn how to toggle between light and dark theme. I have used a switch to toggle between light and dark. You can use buttons or even gesture detector to toggle between the theme. I have also added an extra functionality to reset the counter using the floating action button. Notice that the icon also changes according to the theme. Before we get into coding, let's see the package I will be using for this app. I will be using RiverPod for this app. You can also use Provider or Block. The concepts remains the same. Let's first have a look at the package we will be using. Flutter RiverPod. Head on pub.dev and search for Flutter RiverPod. Click on installing and copy this with Flutter command and paste it inside the terminal opened in your project directory to add RiverPod to your application. Click on README to learn more about RiverPod and how to use it. Now let's start. First we will create new Flutter project using Flutter Create. Let's name it Theme Changer as we will learn how to toggle between theme using it. Change directory to Theme Changer using the cd command. Now let's add RiverPod using the command we just copied. And it's done. Let's close the terminal. In the lib folder, main.dart file, let's first remove the default application code. In the test folder, widget test.dart file, let's remove the tests so the Dart compiler won't complain about our naming convention. Let's create a folder named app and create app.dart file to hold the material app code. First, let's create a stateless widget named app which we have passed to run app function in main.dart file. In this function, we create a material app widget. For now, for the theme value, we pass on ThemeData, and for the home, we pass on a placeholder widget. In the main.dart file, we wrap our app widget with provider scope so we can use RiverPod in our app. Let's add some commas so the Dart formats our code nicely. Now let's add a new folder called Screens and create homescreen.dart file to hold on our code for the main screen UI. In homescreen.dart file, we create new stateless widget and let's name it homescreen. You can name whatever you want, but I will name it homescreen and also import the material.dart package. Let's add the scaffold and create the basic UI, in addition to the reset button. Now, in the app.dart file, let's replace our placeholder widget with our home screen widget we just created. Now let's run the app and check out how our UI looks. This is how our app looks after we run the app. Let's first remove the debug show check banner by setting its value to false. Now the banner is gone. Let's move on to next step. In the lib folder, we create a new folder called Providers. Inside this folder, we create a new Dart file called providers.dart. Now let's create a final variable and name it counter provider as it will manage the state of counter index. We create state provider and return 0 as value and also set its return type to integer. And it's done. Now let's use this provider in our home screen.dart file to add the functionality to our app. To use this provider, we will first extend our home screen widget with consumer widget instead of stateless widget. Also, in your build function you have to add widget ref as an argument. With widget ref added, we can use the provider we just created in this widget. First, we create a final variable called counter index and set its value to ref.watch, not ref.read, as we will keep track of the counter value, and let's add the provider we just created. Counter provider. Now with this counter index we keep track of the index we are updating. Now in the text widget, instead of a 0, we add our counter index variable as a value. Now let's add the counter index incrementing functionality. In onPressed, we execute ref.read.watch as we gonna access provider's value once. We pass our counter provider.notifier to access additional functionality. We can now access the state using .state and then increment the state value when the button is pressed. Now let's reload the app and check if the increment button is working as it should. Now the app is reloaded, let's check if it's working. We press the counter button and it's working fine. The reload button is not working as we not added the functionality yet. Let's add the reload functionality. When the reload button is pressed, we again use the ref.read add pass at the value of counter provider.notifier. Now we use the .update function to update the value to 0, successfully resetting the value as we want it to after the reset counter button is pressed. Now hot restart and check if the reset button is working as it should. As you can see, the reset button resets the counter value back to 0. Now we will finally start working on the dark and light theme part. In lib folder, we create a new folder called themes and add themes.dart file. In this file, we create class called app_theme. We use this class to store, add, get the light and dark themes for our app. We create another class and name it app_colors. We add a static constant value of color. Let's name it seed color as we use this property to get color for our themes. We set its value to built-in colors.blue to get blue color for our theme. Also, let's not forget to import the material.dart file so we can use the color class. In app_theme class, we add a new final property called _light_theme and set its value to ThemeData, and let's copy this and create _dark_theme. Now let's create a getter function to which return this theme data for light and dark theme. We name it light theme and return the underscore light theme property. Let's copy this function and do the same for the underscore dark theme. With this done, we can get the light and dark theme using these functions. Now let's create our themes. In ThemeData of our light theme, let's set the color scheme property to color scheme.from seed and pass on our app color seed color property. Now we set the brightness property of from seed to brightness.light. We will not use color scheme for the dark theme for this app. We use our custom colors. Let's add the brightness property for the dark theme and sets its value to brightness.dark. Now let's move on to the next step. In app.dart file, we make our app widget a consumer widget, as we will be using a provider to manage the theme mode property of the material app widget to toggle between the light and dark theme. As we know, let's add the widget ref to build function to access the provider. In material app widget, we have to replace this theme data with the light theme data from app_theme class we just created. Let's create an instance of the app_theme class. We use this app_theme class instance in theme property and use .light theme to get the light theme. To use the dark theme, we have to add the dark theme property and similarly pass our dark theme. Now we have to add another property called theme mode, using which we will toggle between the light and dark theme. For now, let's set its value to theme_mode.system. This value make it such that the theme will depend on your phone's system to toggle between light and dark theme. In themes.dart, we will customize our dark theme later. For next step, let's go to the providers.dart file. In this file, we will create a new provider similar to counter provider called theme mode provider, as it will manage the theme mode property. We create a new state provider and pass on the value of theme_mode.system and set its return type to theme mode. Also, don't forget to add the material.dart file to access the theme mode class. Now in our app widget, we will create a new final variable and use ref.watch to get the state value and pass on the theme mode provider we just created. Now change the theme mode property to the theme mode variable we just created. With this done, let's give ourselves a pat on the back as we are almost done. Now let's close all these files and folders. For the final step, in lib folder, we add a new folder called widgets. We add a new file called themeswitch.dart file. In this file, we will finally create widget to toggle between light and dark theme. Let's create a stateless widget and name it theme switch. We also have to import the material.dart file. In this widget in the build function, let's remove the container and create row. Let's set the main axis alignment to main axis alignment.center and main axis size to main axis size.min. Now let's make the theme switch widget extend the consumer widget to use our providers. And as usual, we add widget ref to build function. Similarly to the app widget, we create a final theme mode variable to access the state of theme mode provider using ref.watch. Now in the children's of row, we will add a switch and an icon as label. In icon widget, we create a conditional statement to check if the theme mode is light or dark and then pass on the value of icon data accordingly. We pass icons.dark mode if the theme mode is dark and icons.light mode if theme mode is light. For the condition, we add the condition which checks if the theme mode we get from our provider is equal to theme mode.dark. If the condition is true, the icons.dark mode value will pass, else icons.light mode will be passed. Now finally, let's add the switch widget, which will be used to toggle between the theme. Switch widget have two required properties, which are value, which is a Boolean value, and onChanged function, which is a void function. For the value, we pass on a condition, which checks if the theme mode we get from our provider is equal to theme mode.dark. In onChanged value property, we pass a void function which takes the value we just passed. Now we access our theme mode provider using ref.read and pass on the theme mode provider.notifier. Now we use the update function to update the value of the state. Now we add a condition using the value we get from the void function and pass on theme mode.dark mode if the condition is true, and if the condition is false, we pass the theme mode.light. Now it's done. Let's add this widget to our home screen. We will add the theme switch in the AppBar widget actions property. Make sure if the theme switch widget is imported. Now let's reload our app and check if this widget is working. Our app is reloaded. Let's check if the toggle switch is working. Now we will customize our dark theme. But before that, let's visit a website from which we will get our color palette. Head on to colorhunt.co. Here we can find ready-made color palettes of various types which we can use to customize our app. In search bar, we search for the type of color palette that we want to apply to our app theme. I like this bluish color. You can choose whatever color you like. To apply this color to our theme, first, we have to copy the RGB color value. Now back to our code. In the app colors class, let's change the seed color value. As we are using RGB values, we have to use color dot from a RGB value where the or alpha's value will be set to 255, which controls the opacity of the color. Now we replace RGB values with those we just copied. As you can see, the button color just changed as we are using the seed color in the light theme of our app. Let's also change the app bar background color by using the app bar theme and set the background color property to seed color. Now our app looks better than before. Let's check if the app theme changer is still working as before. As you can see, the theme changes still works. Now let's customize our dark theme similarly. We again head on to colorhunt.co and choose theme colors from the dark section. For the dark theme for our app, I want dark blue color shades, but you can choose anything you like. Let's copy the RGB values as before and head back to our code to make changes. In our dark theme, let's add the app bar theme property, which needs an app bar theme, and let's set the background property to the color we just copied by repeating the process we did before to set color. As before, we set the alpha's value as 255 and reset the RGB values. Now our dark theme app bar looks much better. Now let's change the scaffold background color. As before, we choose our color and copy the RGB values and repeat the same process. In our dark theme, we add the scaffold background color property and set its value the color we just copied. Like magic, our app's dark theme now looks gorgeous. Now our app is finally complete. The counter is working as well as the reset button. We also have made beautiful light and dark theme which we can toggle between. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe Dino Tech for more Flutter tutorials like this.